Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to tonight's early morning or middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, it takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment, share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go, and yes, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload, shall we? Tonight's first encounter. Truthfully, I do not know how to go about sharing this without sounding like an absolute loon, but I believe there was something non-human I and my boyfriend encountered on Mount Sterling, North Carolina. I'd like to preface this by saying we have tried every logical explanation possible. We've looked up every indigenous animal to the area and every kind of call they would make for any situation to compare to the sound this thing made, and nothing sounded remotely close to what we heard. Anyway, my boyfriend and I decided to go on a hike and camp per usual. Nothing was out of the ordinary except for the fact that we had so many delays, which I now think was the universe trying to prevent us from coming to this trail, because it seems like it all led up to this very moment. Well, instance one. We drive up the road to the trailhead and we find someone's dog, which the whole encounter was good. It was some guy's dog that lived nearby. But we got off track with time, trying to make sure we got the dog to where it belonged safely. We go to the swimming hole. It was all normal and okay. But here's where things start getting chaotic and odd slowly but surely. We go to the nearest populated area and grab some chicken sandwiches from this food truck, and it took forever, which got us off track with time. They were pretty gross and icky tasting. Well, then we try to get back to the trailhead, and his GPS starts going crazy. It ends up taking us 16 miles out of the way from where we're even supposed to go, which made us even more behind on time. And the reason we were in a hurry was because we wanted to get to camp on top of the mountain before sundown, which was 8:50 p.m. We finally get on the road that goes to the trailhead, and the energy in the forest is just darking off. It was like the woods were dark at 6 p.m., but the sky was blue. It was just very weird and eerie. Well, as soon as we get to the trailhead, my boyfriend's stomach is hurting so bad he is hunched over, and not even sure if he can do the trail because he is in so much pain. And I'm feeling pretty off as well. Well, we're going on the trail, and it's 2.8 miles, so we're in a hurry to get to the top. I don't know what the heck was going on, but literally he and I are both getting our butts kicked by this trail, which I'd like to add, we are pretty avid hikers, and it should have been a cakewalk compared to what we normally do, so neither of us should have had issues going up this trail. But we both literally are sick. Like, I nearly threw up so many times. I even put my fingers down my throat to throw up and couldn't. We're both dizzy and so physically weak, it was like not normal for us at all. We couldn't even walk straight on the trail. We were so dizzy and disoriented. Mind you, it's not hot up there at all. It was fairly cool outside. Shockingly, we made it up despite feeling like our bodies were shutting down. We even contemplated going back to the car a few times on the way up, which I really wish we would have done after this evening. Well, there were no campsites or anything available, so we're going to have to go back to the car, but this nice family let us set up camp by them. It was a mom, dad, granny, and little girl. and they camped in a green tent. Take note of that. Then nightfall comes, and we want to smoke a J on the fire tower that's up there. It was built in 1933, by the way. Well, we're on the first flight of stairs, and I look above us to the next flight, and I swear to God I saw legs and feet. Like someone was standing there, which just threw me off because I thought we were alone. So I shined my light to make sure that we were not in the way of another hiker going down the stairs, and nothing was there at all. And I was a little alarmed, but quickly blamed it on my bad vision at night, even though it felt weird. This is where it gets terrifying. We go down off the fire tower. We hang our food bag on a bear cable, which is just up high so the bears can't get the food or attract bears, for those who do not know. Anyway, we are walking back to camp, and we shine our lights around, and out of nowhere something screams the most god-awful bloody murder screech. It sounded like a woman, but not like a human at the same time, and I stopped and said, WTF, and it screams again. I decide to shine my light in that direction, and I couldn't tell if I was shaking too hard or if there was something shaking next to the family in the green tent. My boyfriend yelled at me and said, come on. So I ran after him, and we got into our tent and hid with our guns. And it was literally right next to the family's tent, whatever it was, but nothing ever ran away or anything. We never heard any footsteps of any sort, which, if it was an animal, you think we would have heard it walk or run. And I know in the Smokies there are reports of feral human and such, but I still feel like we would have heard something walking, and we never did. The family we were camping by was freaking out as well and asked if we were okay. They tossed and turned and stayed up all night, talking about the thing that screamed right outside of their tent. Once morning came, we hoped they would still be there so we could chat about this, but they left as soon as the sky was bright. My boyfriend has been hiking alone since he was 16 years old, and he said he has never heard anything like this in the woods. He said even when he did the Benton McKay Trail and had to hike through this area we camped in, he said even back then this place had such an eerie energy to it. He and I both still have no clue what it could have possibly have been. We have a few theories after some research, and we think it could have been Number 1, a feral human. Number 2, someone on the trail hurt. Number 3, it was an animal we are unsure of. Number 4, some sort of spirit that haunts the Smokies and targets children. What is so chilling about that to me is that scream was right next to the tent with the family with the little girl. Number 5, it was an animal we were just unaware that exists out here. And number 6, some sort of cryptid. Nonetheless, I don't see myself going to Mount Sterling anytime soon. I'd really like to connect with that family we camped with and get some answers, or to know if anybody else experienced the same thing in that area. Thanks for listening. Today's first video is what appears to be a couple or a person horseback riding. I believe it was a couple. And they're in the woods, and they stop because their horse is spooked. They don't see it at first until they then follow kind of where the horse is looking, and then they see kind of this crawler-like creature peering out from behind a tree. It's pretty interesting. It doesn't look like some sort of owl. So I think it may be real. But, you know, I can't make your opinions for you. So you guys make it. Here's that video. Definitely a creepy video. Once again, it does look compelling to me. So I feel that it could possibly be real. But like I said before you guys watch the video, I cannot make your opinions for you. You guys decide on this one. Tonight's second encounter. I live in Oklahoma. Nearly everyone in my county has indigenous blood from many different tribes. You're actually a bit of an oddity here if you don't have any. We are not Navajo, and Oklahoma is not Navajo territory. I don't know what else this could have been. Many years ago, I was walking with my two cousins and older sister in the woods. It was around November, raining. It had gotten dark a lot faster than any of us were expecting. We had flashlights and lenient parents, so we thought we were fine. We're goofing off, playing games, probably pretending we were squirrels or something. Then we decided to play hide and seek. I ran far away from my cousins and sister, as my sister was it. I hid behind some trees, crouched down, and waited for my sister to find me. I was alone in this part of woods. My cousins had taken off together to hide in the opposite direction. 10 minutes into the game, I hear footsteps crunching leaves pretty close to me. I giggled and crouched down further, thinking it was my sister. The weird part was that it was coming from behind me, which would mean my sister would have had to walk right past me to get the footsteps behind me. I was oblivious and really didn't consider this. I was a kid. Anyway, I hear the footsteps. They circled around me for a bit, and then stopped suddenly. I heard my sister's voice clearly. She said my name. The voice was weird, cold, and a bit hoarse. Goosebumps immediately formed on my arms. I stood up, not really caring about the game anymore. I've always been the easily frightened family member, and I thought she was using that to her advantage to draw me out of my hiding spot, and it worked. I wavered between running to find my cousins or running up to my sister to beat her up for scaring me. Then she said my name again and demanded I come over to where she was. I could see her when I squinted. She was about 50 yards away, standing, and kind of limp. I was 5 seconds away from obeying her when my sister grabbed me from behind and yelled "boo" really loud in my ear. I screamed and started to cry, just bawling in her arms. She was really freaked out and asked me what was wrong. I told her about the person, and she was bewildered. She had no idea what I was talking about. She had already found my little cousins, and one of them had snitched on me and told her where I was hiding. I had never been more grateful for such a betrayal. The voice stopped, and the thing disappeared after my sister found me. We went back home after that. I still haven't been back in those woods near my grandmother's house, and no one believes me when I tell them about it. Alright guys, probably a mimic. I like how she, when she shared her experience, really did say, hey, I'm not Navajo, I don't live in Navajo country. Stating the clear and obvious that, hey, this is not a skinwalker. Could have been some other sort of shapeshifter, but not the Yinatalushi or skinwalker. Probably a mimic of some sort. I'm not really sure, but definitely creepy. Tonight's second video, staying in the kids kind of zone. Some kids are out in their backyard with their dog, and they see this very strange kind of creature creeping in this field. And one of the boys says, hey, there it is again. So it's obviously not the first time they have seen this thing. And if you watch how it moves very strangely. It's humanoid, but definitely not a human. Here goes.
That thing again. It's a thing again, look.
The first time I saw that video was a while ago. Um, it freaked me out a little bit when I first saw it, and it still kind of does. You just, at the odd movements, the way this thing moves, it'd be pretty hard for a human to stay in that position and move through a field. And if you look, it moves rather quickly through the field. But then again, it could be just some kind of weird dude in the woods, or I don't know. But it is creepy. So on to tonight's third encounter. My boyfriend stays over most weekends. This one wasn't any different. My boyfriend and I smoke weed pretty regularly, and we often sneak out to smoke. It was about 1 a.m, and we decided to go and get high. We went out and into the alleyway, just a minute walk from my house, and lit up. After smoking for a bit, we decided to go to the park just down the road. It's a pretty big park for reference. We walked down to the added skate park. Not that it is a skate park, just a few ramps, which from the alley is a good 7/8 of a mile. By the time we get to the skate park, we were pretty high, and I could have sworn I was seeing shadows out of the corner of my eyes way too regularly to be normal. Yet I brushed it off and decided I'm probably just high and getting paranoid. We decided it was probably best to finish our last J and head home. We walked down the short path to go to the park and back onto the road. The road is on the very bottom of a quite steep hill, and it happens to be the hill I live on. As we began to walk up the hill, we both heard a loud, repeated screeching sound coming from further down the hill, but it was way too dark to see anything. My boyfriend instantly was very spooked and began rushing up the hill. However, a few weeks ago, we were walking up the hill, and there was a bunch of fox making a loud, scratchy noise they made. The screech emitted by whatever entity was behind us, though, didn't sound at all like a fox. I said to him, probably trying to convince myself more than him, "It's probably a fox or something, don't worry. I can't really run, especially all the way up this hill. I'm diagnosed anorexic and very underweight. I smoke, and I don't exercise, so as not to affect my weight. So I am very unfit, and my heart rate spikes, and I get out of breath a lot faster than a healthy person when running." We walked a bit faster until it sounded like the screeches were getting closer, and I just looked over at my boyfriend and said, "Screw this, just go." We started running up the hill, absolutely terrified. I need glasses, but I didn't bother putting them on before we left, because originally we were just going to smoke, then go straight back inside. That and how terrified I was stopped me from looking behind. But my boyfriend clearly has a fight response to fight or flight, because he did look and said it looked like some guy in a suit. Do keep in mind, through all of this, there are not any street lights on this hill, so it was not easy to see. We tried to get home even quicker, although I could feel my heart beating out of my chest and could barely breathe, so I had to slow down a bit for a few seconds, although the screeches were staying at the same volume, if not getting slightly quieter, so I thought we had gained some distance. Then my boyfriend says, "I see them, go now, and don't let them see what house we go into." And we sprinted the last bit of the hill, and I fumbled with my keys for a good 10 seconds in true horror movie fashion, and I could hear the screeches getting closer. I finally got the door opened, not caring to be quiet, to sneak back, due to how terrified I was, and managed to quickly lock the door behind us. Without saying a word, my boyfriend and I rushed upstairs in the house, sat in my room for a few minutes, catching our breath. My boyfriend told me he would check out the window in my bathroom. You can see down to the front of my house. My house is 2 stories, so we thought we would be safe to do so. I sat in my room because I was understandably very much freaked out and out of breath. When my boyfriend came back into my room, he had that same look on his face when we first saw the thing. He told me I needed to go look out the window, but as I mentioned earlier, when I am in a life-threatening situation, I for some reason subconsciously seem to think that what I cannot see will not hurt me, and I refuse to go look. I was too scared and even to move. When he told me to get inside, he thought it was a homeless person either trying to scare us or to harm us. But it looked slightly unnatural. He said the creature was twitching and jerking its head and neck as it screeched and was hobbling towards us, but fast in a way that did not look human. When he looked out the window, he said he saw what had seemed like a woman with blonde hair right in front of the house, just barely, not in front garden, which is only a few feet long, eating something. Then he got too frightened to keep watching and hurried back to my room, where we stayed for the rest of the evening. I have absolutely no idea what it was. I'm not sure if somehow the weed makes things seem worse than they are, but this situation and all the adrenaline seemed to have sobered me up. We still have absolutely no clue what this thing or things were. Tonight's third video is what appears to be kind of like a portal. At first, when the video starts, you see this black kind of shape. At first, when I saw it, I thought it was like a human or a Bigfoot or something in the distance. But then as you watch the video, it just kind of is there and then kind of blinks into extinction. I believe in portals. I believe they exist. People have seen them. One of my favorite experiences that I've ever heard was a hunter by Skinwalker Ranch, and he was hunting on this ridge and he saw this kind of portal open up, and he saw this creature just drop out of it and run in the opposite way, and he had never hunted that area since. Funny thing with Skinwalker Ranch, there was a subscriber who, well, he wasn't even a subscriber. He was someone, a troll that was trying to educate me. And I had made comment about, Skinwalker Ranch having no kind of Dogman or bipedal canine spotted there. There has been a humongous wolf. And in movies, yes, I'm sure there are, but you really have to. There are a couple found footage films that are horror movies that are not real, that portray a Dogman or some kind of bipedal canine. But there has been no report of a bipedal canine on Skinwalker Ranch. Just that enormous kind of dire wolf creature. Well, he tells me that Skinwalker Ranch is called Skinwalker Ranch because of dogmen and shapeshifters on Skinwalker Ranch. And I was like, the reason why Skinwalker Ranch is called Skinwalker Ranch is because it's on the Uinta Basin, and the Navajo used the Skinwalker to wipe out the Ute, which Skinwalker Ranch is on their property, or on their land, on their sacred land. And I said, there's supposedly a cave there that's called Skinwalker Cave. There's been obviously UFO sightings, strange light anomalies, ghosts, the dire wolf-like creature, and a lot of other weird things. But it was just interesting how he thought that this ranch, the Sherman Ranch, was called Skinwalker Ranch because it was infested with skinwalkers. And he's like, and I'm here to educate you, and yada, yada, yada. And it was just interesting and kind of crazy how he did it, because he was just like so trollish. It was disgusting. Anyway, yeah, so my favorite experience around Skinwalker Ranch would be that hunter and his experience. And it wasn't even on the ranch. It was like half a mile away. And, I've got There's a subscriber who actually is, he is Native American. He is Ute Native American, and he reached out, and we had emailed back and forth for a little bit, and he was telling me a little bit about some of the terrifying experiences he's had witnessed in that area. And seldom is it cryptid. It's something else, which is even more terrifying. Anyway, check out the video. Here it is. Like I said, guys, I don't know what this is. It's there. It's clearly there. And then it just blinks into nothingness. It's strange. It's very strange. On to tonight's final encounter. When I was 13 years old, my brother, who was 15 at the time, and his best friend Robert, and I were hanging out at Robert's house, which was on an adjacent corner to ours. We hung out until about nightfall. At around 11 p.m., my brother and I decided it was time to go home. Robert decided he would walk with us. We crossed the street and reached the alley, which split the block right in the middle. We looked right, and then we looked left before crossing because of cars and people. When we looked left back to Robert's alley, I heard, "What the hell is that?" coming from Robert. I knew then that we were all seeing the same thing. At the end of the alley stood a black, almost smoke-like but rigid figure that was about 3 or 4 times larger than the average dog. The only solid part of the figure was its bright red eyes. It stood there not moving, but in an intimidating stance. We all got creeped out and walked faster, my house being the house away. We all got inside the gate as fast as we could. In the time it took us to turn around to close the latch on the gate, we noticed this dog creature across the street in between the cars, like it had followed us. We all ran to our porch where the light was on, and in the blink of an eye the figure was in front of our house, hiding behind another car. We stood horrified. Our fence was small enough for it to jump. It only was 3 feet. Several minutes had gone by when Robert's porch light turned on. His mom stood at the door, which meant it was time for him to go home. We all looked back where the figure stood, but it appeared to be gone. We all stepped outside together. We looked around for signs of this creature, but nothing. Robert ran home, and we were all puzzled at what we saw. We never spoke to anyone about it because we knew no one would believe us. Over the years, while we would have get-togethers or parties, our friends and family would go to the alley to urinate or smoke break, and would come back freaked out and describe a ghostly, like dog creature with burning red eyes. As an adult, I'd chuckle and say, "I know what you're talking about. I've seen it as well. But I don't know what it is." They would always look at me like I was teasing them, not knowing that I saw it twice. Once the night with my brother, and again as I walked home from my bus stop from night class while I was in college years later. Anyway, I went to visit my parents, and my boyfriend brought up the time he saw it come out of the alley about the same time a year later, while he was waiting for me one night. I never told him about this creature. The way he described it was exactly how we all saw it: a wolf-like dog with weird kind of fur, bulky build, like a weight-trained pit bull. And he said that it was the size that frightened him the most. He didn't see the eyes. It's not always there, but when it is, it's always a fright to remember, even 13 years later. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed this early morning or middle of the night bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, it is your support that keeps the channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. God bless you.